On the rain-lashed fringe world of Virellis, Lila Cruz worked alone in the ruins of a dead city. The sky never cleared here. Thick clouds hung low, heavy with acid rain that ate through metal and stone alike. Most people avoided Virellis. It was too far from trade routes, too quiet, too broken. But Lila liked it that way. She was nobody special. Just a human woman with calloused hands and a beat-up exosuit patched together from scrap. Earth had been forgotten by the galaxy long ago, and Lila had accepted that fate. She didn't dream of starships or glory. She just wanted enough credits to fix her boots and buy a warm meal. She moved through the skeletal remains of what might have once been a temple or a palace. The architecture was alien, smooth curves fused with jagged spires covered now in rust-colored moss. Her scanner beeped softly in her ear, picking up faint energy traces deep below the rubble. Probably nothing. Most finds on Virellis were junk, corroded wires, shattered data crystals, the occasional bone. But sometimes, just sometimes, there was something worth salvaging, and Lila needed a win. The rain hissed against her helmet. She knelt, brushing away wet ash with gloved fingers. Beneath it lay a panel, still intact, still humming. Her breath caught. This wasn't junk. It was Silthari. The name sent a chill through her, though she tried to ignore it. The Silthari were legends whispered about in spacer bars and old war logs. Elves, some called them. Tall, pale beings with eyes like starlight and voices that could shatter steel. They'd vanished centuries ago after the Great Collapse. No one had seen one in living memory, yet here was their tech buried under Virelli's mud, pulsing like a heartbeat. Before she could react, the sky tore open. Not with lightning, but with silence. The rain stopped mid-fall. The wind died. Lila looked up, heart pounding. A rift shimmered above the ruins, a tear in the air itself, glowing violet at the edges. From it dropped a figure cloaked in black, falling fast. She hit the ground with a thud that cracked the stone, then rose in one fluid motion as if pain meant nothing to her. Lila froze. The woman stood tall, her hood pulled low, but Lila could see the sharp line of her jaw, the unnatural grace in her stance. Silver blood dripped from a gash on her arm, steaming where it touched the wet ground. Behind her, something small and dark uncurled from the folds of her cloak. It had wings like folded knives, eyes like molten gold, and scales black as void space. A dragon. Not the huge, fire-breathing kind from old Earth myths, but something sleeker, smarter, alive in a way that made Lila's skin prickle. The woman turned. Even under the hood, Lila felt those eyes lock onto her. She didn't speak at first. She just watched, head tilted slightly like she was listening to something only she could hear. Then in a voice low and smooth as Riverstone, she said, "You're late." Lila blinked. "Late? I don't even know you." The woman stepped closer. The dragon hissed, a sound like grinding glass, but didn't move to attack. Instead, it stared at Lila with unsettling focus, its tail flicking slowly. "Your name is Lila Cruz," the woman said. "You were born on Earth Sector 7 in the year 2341. Your mother's name was Maya. She died when you were 6. You've been running ever since." Lila's blood turned cold. No one knew that. Not really. She'd scrubbed her records clean when she left Earth, changed her name twice, buried her past so deep even she sometimes forgot it. "Who are you?" she demanded, hand drifting toward the plasma cutter at her belt. The woman didn't flinch. "My name is Ilara, and I've been looking for you for 20 years. That made no sense. Lila was only 28. "You're lying." Ilara reached up and pushed back her hood. Her face was pale, almost luminous in the gray light. Her ears tapered to fine points, confirming the rumors. She was one of them. An elf. Her eyes were violet, glowing faintly like distant nebulae caught in glass. But it wasn't her beauty that stunned Lila. It was the sadness in her gaze. Deep, ancient, and strangely familiar. "I knew your mother," Ilara said softly. "She saved my life. And I failed to save hers." Lila's throat tightened. She hadn't heard her mother's name spoken aloud in over 2 decades. Memories rushed back. Warm hands, soft songs, the smell of jasmine in a tiny apartment on a dying world. Then fire, screams, silence. "Why are you here?" Lila whispered. "Because the Voidborn are waking," Ilara said. "And you're the only one who can stop them." Lila had heard of the Voidborn. Ghost stories told to scare rookie pilots. A hive mind that didn't conquer worlds, it consumed them from within. Rewriting minds, turning friends into enemies, memories into lies. Most thought they were myth. But the fear in Ilara's voice said otherwise. "I'm just a salvager," Lila said. "I can't fight some cosmic horror." "You're more than that," Ilara replied. You carry the anchor gene, dormant but present. It's why the Voidborn haven't touched Earth yet. They can't get close. Your blood is a shield, Lila laughed, but it came out shaky. That's insane. The dragon, Kale, as Alara later called him, stepped forward then. He didn't growl. Instead, he nudged Lila's hand with his snout, warm and surprisingly gentle. A strange warmth spread through her at his touch. Like sunlight after a long winter. For the first time in years, she didn't feel alone. You don't have to believe me yet, Alara said. But you must come with me. They're already here. As if on cue, the scanner in Lila's ear screeched. 3 signals, fast, silent, closing in. Not ships. Something else. Shapes moved in the mist beyond the ruins, too smooth, too quiet. Their outlines flickered like bad holograms. Voidborn scouts, Alara said, drawing a blade that shimmered with blue energy. They've been tracking me. Now they've found you. Lila's instincts screamed to run. But something deeper, something old and buried, told her to stay. She looked at Alara, then at Kale, who now stood between her and the approaching shadows, wings half spread, a low rumble in his chest. What happens if I go with you? Lila asked. You might die, Alara said honestly. But if you stay, everyone dies, including you. The first scout lunged from the fog, a twisted thing of shifting flesh and stolen faces. Alara moved like lightning, her blade cutting through it with a sound like tearing silk. But 2 more came, faster this time. Lila didn't think. She grabbed a piece of broken conduit from the ground and charged. It wasn't skill. It was rage. Years of loss, of hiding, of feeling small in a vast, uncaring galaxy. All of it poured into that swing. The conduit sparked as it hit the creature's core. It shrieked and dissolved into black smoke. Alara stared at her, eyes wide. You felt it, didn't you? Lila's hands trembled. She had. A strange hum in her bones, a pull in her chest like something inside her had answered the blow. That's the anchor, Alara said. It's waking up. Before Lila could respond, Alara grabbed her arm. Kale leapt onto her shoulder, claws light as feathers. We have to go. Now. A ship descended from the rift above, sleek, organic, grown from living metal, its surface pulsing like a heartbeat. It hovered silently, a ramp unfolding like a petal. Lila hesitated. This was madness. She could turn back, vanish into the ruins, pretend this never happened. But then she looked at the smoke where the Voidborn had been, and remembered the silence after her mother's last scream. She stepped onto the ramp. As the ship sealed behind them and shot into the storm, Lila didn't look back. She sat on the cool floor. Kale curled in her lap, his warmth a comfort she hadn't known she needed. Alara stood at the controls, her profile sharp against the stars. Why me? Lila asked finally. Alara didn't turn. Because you're the only one who remembers what it means to be human. And right now that's the deadliest weapon in the galaxy. Lila didn't understand. Not yet. But as the ship broke through the clouds and into the endless dark, she felt something shift inside her. Not fear, not hope. Something quieter. Something like purpose. And for the first time in her life, she didn't feel like nobody. The inside of Lyra's ship was nothing like Allison expected. Gone were the sterile white walls of human spacecraft, replaced by organic curves and materials she could not identify. The lighting pulsed subtly, as if the vessel itself breathed. She followed, the elven woman, through corridors that seemed to bend in impossible ways while the small dragon trotted ahead, its tail swishing with each step. This is the Starborn Vengeance, Lyra said without turning around. The dragon. What do you call him? Allison asked, trying to maintain composure despite her fear. His name is Kale, Lyra replied, and he is not a pet. He is the last of the stellar drakes bonded to me through a psychic link. The dragon Kale turned his head and fixed Allison with an amber gaze that felt too knowing, too aware for a mere animal. His scales shifted to a deep purple matching the accent colors of the ship. They entered what appeared to be the command center, a circular room with a transparent ceiling showing the stars above. Curved. Control panels lined the walls, but Allison saw no buttons or screens, just smooth surfaces that occasionally rippled with light. Sit, Lyra commanded, pointing to a contoured chair that emerged from the floor. Allison obeyed, still trying to process everything happening around her. The ship hummed to life without Lyra touching anything. The elven woman merely closed her eyes for a moment, and the engines began to power up. Where are we going? Allison asked. Nebulon 7. Lyra answered. It was the first colony, hit by the plague. I need you to see what we are fighting. Kale jumped onto a raised platform and curled into a ball, his scales dimming slightly as if to conserve energy. But his eyes remained fixed on Allison, studying her. The ship lifted off with barely a sensation of movement. Allison watched through the transparent ceiling as Proxima Moon fell away beneath them. Within moments they had broken orbit and were accelerating toward the stars faster than any human vessel could travel. Now Lyra said, finally facing Allison directly, I will explain why I need you. The elven woman waved her hand, and the air between them filled with complex diagrams, genetic sequences, and star charts. Allison recognized her own research data among the displays. 6 months ago, the first signs of the Void Plague appeared on Nebulon 7. Lyra began without emotion. Entire populations began to decay from within, their cellular structures collapsing, their DNA unraveling. The pattern of spread matched exactly your theoretical model. How did you find my research? Allison asked. It was rejected. My supervisors buried it. Lyra made a sound that might have been a laugh, though it held no warmth. I have resources, human resources that monitor scientific research across all worlds looking for patterns. Your paper caught attention because it predicted exactly what began happening. What does this have to do with me being immune? Allison pressed. The elven woman studied her for a long moment. Your genetic structure contains a rare mutation found in less than 1% of humans. It creates a natural defense against the type of viral recoding that the Void Plague uses to attack cells. I discovered this by analyzing your medical records. You stole my medical records, Allison said, feeling violated. I do what is necessary. Lyra replied without apology. The galaxy is at stake. My own world. Eldrathir was destroyed by those who now weaponize this plague. For the first time, emotion flickered across Lyra's perfect features. Pain, ancient and deep. She turned away quickly, but not before Allison glimpsed something behind the cold exterior. Kyle, the dragon, uncurled himself and moved to Lyra's side, pressing against her leg. The elven woman placed her hand on his head, an automatic gesture of comfort. They took everything from me, Lyra said quietly. Everything except Kale. He is the last connection to my homeworld, the last of his kind, just as I am nearly the last of mine. Allison felt her fear being replaced by something else. Curiosity, compassion. This legendary assassin, this terror of the galaxy, had lost her entire world. Who are they? Allison asked. These people weaponizing the plague. They call themselves the Ascension Directive. Lyra answered, turning back to face Allison. Her composure had returned, her violet eyes once again unreadable. They believe some species are evolutionary, dead ends, obstacles to galactic advancement. My people were first on their list. Your people may be next. The ship shuddered slightly as it entered faster than light travel. The stars outside stretched into lines of light, then vanished, replaced by the swirling colors of hyperspace. What exactly do you need me to do? Allison asked. Your immune system holds the key to developing a universal vaccine, Lyra explained. I need your blood, your expertise, and your mind. The Ascension Directive has bases across the galaxy. We must infiltrate them, find their source of the plague, and create a cure before they release the final strain. The way Lyra said final strain sent chills through Allison. The ship will prepare a meal for you and provide sleeping quarters, Lyra continued. We arrive at Nebulon 7 in 20 hours. You should rest. As if responding to her words, a section of wall slid open, revealing a small but comfortable-looking chamber. Before Lyra could leave, Allison asked one more question. Why do they call you the galaxy's deadliest woman? Lyra paused, her back to Allison. Because I earned the title, she said simply. Then she was gone, with Kale following at her heels. Alone in the small chamber, Allison tried to process everything she had learned. The rejected research she had poured her heart into had been right all along. A deadly plague was spreading across the galaxy, designed by a group that believed some species should be eliminated, and somehow her unique genetic structure made her key to fighting it. Sleep did not come easily, but exhaustion eventually won. When Allison woke, she found fresh clothing laid out for her more practical than her previous outfit, but made of material unlike any she had felt before. It fit perfectly. She emerged to find Lyra standing at the command center looking at displays of a planet. Kyle was perched on her shoulder, his tail wrapped around her, neck almost protectively. Nebulon 7. Lyra said without turning. We arrive in 1 hour. Allison joined her looking at the planet. It appeared normal from orbit, green and blue with swirling white clouds. The plague leaves no visible signs from space, Lyra explained, but watch. She magnified the image, focusing on a major city. The buildings stood intact, but the streets were empty. No movement, no vehicles, no people. 3 million inhabitants, Lyra said. All gone within days. Allison felt sick. How does it spread? Initially through water, then becomes airborne. The directive engineered it well as they prepared to descend to the surface. Lyra handed Allison what looked like a thin metallic bracelet protection. She said, "This will create a field around you, filtering any remaining plague particles. They should be dormant now, but we take no chances." Kale chirped from Lyra's shoulder, his scales shifting to a deep red color. He agrees, Lyra translated, though. Allison hadn't asked. They landed on the outskirts of the city in a clearing that had once been a park. The ship sealed itself as they disembarked, Allison following Lyra and Kale toward the silent buildings. The silence was the worst part. Allison thought cities should never be this quiet. They entered what had been a research facility. The doors stood open, computers still running, lights still on, power systems continued to function, though the people who built them were gone. We need samples from their lab, Lyra explained, moving with purpose through the empty corridors. Kale ran ahead as if scouting, his wings occasionally spreading for balance. Your research suggested the plague would mutate in predictable patterns. I need to confirm if that is happening. They found the main laboratory untouched. A half-filled coffee cup sat on one desk. Work abandoned mid-task. Allison tried not to think about what had happened to the scientists who worked here. As Lyra gathered samples, Kale suddenly hissed, his scales turning black. His head swiveled toward a side door. Someone comes, Lyra said, drawing a weapon Allison had not noticed before. It hummed with energy as it activated. A door slid open, and armed figures rushed in wearing sealed environmental suits. Their weapons raised, intruders, one shouted, "Find. The elven woman Lord Commander wants her alive." Allison ducked behind a desk as energy blasts filled the room. Lyra moved with impossible speed, firing her weapon with deadly accuracy. 3 attackers fell before the others could react. Kyle launched himself at another, his small size belying incredible strength as he tore through the environmental suit with razor claws. Allison watched in stunned silence as the galaxy's deadliest woman proved why she had earned that title. Lyra flowed like water. Between blaster shots, her movements precise and lethal. When it was over, 8 attackers lay dead or unconscious. Lyra stood unharmed, though her expression had darkened. "The directive knows we are here," she said, retrieving a data crystal from one of the fallen figures. "We must leave now." As they hurried back toward the ship, more blasts erupted from nearby buildings. Allison stumbled as one struck near her feet. Lyra grabbed her arm, pulling her forward with inhuman strength. "Run, human," Lyra commanded. Her voice carried such authority that Allison found herself obeying without question. They reached the ship as larger vehicles appeared on the horizon, Kale shrieking warning as they scrambled aboard. The starborn Vengeance powered up instantly, responding to Lyra's mental commands. They lifted off as energy weapons struck the ground where they had stood moments before, safe in orbit. Lyra studied the data crystal. "We have what we need," she said. "The plague has mutated exactly as your research predicted. The next target will be the Centauri colonies." Allison looked at Lyra, seeing her in a new light. This woman had killed without hesitation, yet was fighting to save billions. The contradiction was, Helios Station hung in orbit around a dying red dwarf star. Its rotating rings glowed with artificial light. The station was known as a neutral ground for scientists where research could be conducted without political interference. Allison watched through the viewport as they approached, her mind still processing everything she had witnessed on Nebulon 7. The Starborn Vengeance slipped into a private docking bay, one that did not appear on official station maps, Lyra explained as they prepared. To disembark, I have contacts here. People who owe me favors. They will provide the laboratory equipment we need. Kale perched on Lyra's shoulder, his scales now a muted gray to match the station's interior coloring, almost as if he could camouflage himself. Allison noted with scientific interest. We cannot stay long, Lyra continued. The directive has spies everywhere. Once they analyze the security footage from Nebulon 7, they will know you are with me. That makes you a target. Allison swallowed hard still, struggling to accept her new reality. Just days ago, she had been a simple xenobiologist collecting rock samples. Now she was working with the galaxy's most notorious assassin to stop a plague that threatened entire civilizations. They disembarked, Lyra leading them through service corridors, avoiding the main thoroughfares of the station. Twice she stopped, suddenly pulling Allison into shadows as station security passed by. Kale seemed to sense danger before it appeared, his small body tensing. As a warning, their destination was a nondescript door in a lower level of the research ring. Lyra pressed her palm against the scanner, and the door slid open, revealing a fully equipped laboratory, much more advanced than anything Allison had worked with before. My contact is called Maya, Lyra said as they entered. She funds research that official channels will not. She believes in being prepared. A tall woman with copper skin and striking white hair turned from a console. Maya smiled, though the expression did not reach her eyes. Lyra Nightshade, she said, I hoped never to see you again. Our arrangement stands, Lyra replied coldly. Of course. Maya nodded, then looked at Allison with open curiosity. And this is the scientist you mentioned, the one with immunity, Allison Grant. Allison introduced herself, feeling strangely self-conscious under the woman's gaze. Maya gestured toward the equipment. Everything you requested is here, including the genetic sequencer and the viral containment unit. Use what you need, but remember our agreement. 24 hours, no more. The woman left without another word. The door sealed behind her. Lyra immediately moved to a secure case, removing the samples they had collected from Nebulon 7. These are active plague samples, she explained, handle with extreme caution. For the next several hours, Allison lost herself in the work. The sophisticated equipment allowed her to analyze the plague at a molecular level, confirming what had only been theoretical in her research. The virus was engineered to target specific genetic markers, elegant in its design, horrifying in its purpose. You were right, Allison said finally, looking up from the microscope. This isn't natural. The plague has been engineered to recognize certain genetic patterns and to ignore others. Lyra nodded as if confirming something she already suspected. The Ascension Directive believes in guided evolution. They think some species are holding back galactic advancement. My people were among the first targets. Now they have expanded their vision. Allison continued her analysis. The data crystal from the fallen attacker provided additional information. The plague had gone through 5 iterations, each more refined than the last. The latest version focused on human genetic markers. Your people are next, Lyra said, watching Allison's reaction. The 6th strain targets humans with specific genetic markers, those without your immunity. Allison felt cold fear spread through her body. How many humans share my immunity? Less than 0.001%. Lyra answered. Barely enough to ensure human survival as a species, but not enough to maintain civilization. Kale chirped from his perch on a nearby table. His scales had taken on a sickly green tinge. What's wrong with him? Allison asked. Noticing the change, Lyra moved to the dragon with surprising gentleness. She has never shown before. He was exposed on Nebulon 7. His biology is different from ours. The protective fields may not have fully shielded him. The elven woman stroked Kale's head with obvious concern. The dragon leaned into her touch, his eyes half closed. Can you help him? Lyra asked, and for the first time, Allison heard real emotion in her voice. Fear. Concern. Love. Allison approached carefully. Kale was clearly more than a pet. The bond between him and Lyra was profound. May I scan him? She asked. Lyra nodded, though she did not move away, keeping her hand on Kale as Allison used the medical scanner. The readings were unlike anything Allison had seen before. Kale's biology was complex. His cellular structure both reptilian and something else entirely. Something that resembled cosmic radiation more than organic matter. He has been infected, Allison confirmed. But his system is fighting it, differently than I would expect. It's almost as if the plague is rewriting itself inside him. Lyra finished, her violet eyes dark with worry. He is the last of his kind. If he dies, we won't let that happen. Allison said with sudden determination. I have a theory. Something I never had the resources to test. My rejected paper included a potential cure using antibodies from immune subjects to create a targeted response. You need my blood? Lyra stated no. Allison shook her head, looking at Lyra with new understanding. I need my blood. That's why you sought me out specifically, isn't it? Not just for my research. You knew about my immunity. Lyra met her gaze without flinching. Yes. I have been tracking the directive's activities for years. When they began developing the plague, I searched for anyone who might help create a cure. I found your research, then discovered your medical anomaly. Your immunity is not just rare, it is perfect. The antibodies your system produces can be adapted to work across species. Allison rolled up her sleeve. I need to synthesize the antibodies, then create a delivery method that will work for Kale for the next several hours. They worked together. Allison drawing her own blood and isolating the key components while Lyra prepared the equipment needed to create the cure. Kale grew weaker, his breathing labored, his scales fading to a dull gray. The process was delicate, requiring precision and patience. Allison had never worked under such pressure. The life of this unique creature depended on her skill, and beyond that, billions of lives across the galaxy hung in the balance. If they could cure Kale, they might create a universal vaccine. Finally, the synthesizer completed its cycle. A small vial of luminescent blue liquid was the result. This should work, Allison said, holding it up. But I can't guarantee it. His biology is so different. Lyra took the vial. Their fingers brushed briefly. Allison was surprised by the warmth of the elven woman's skin. Do it, she said. The alternative is his death. With careful precision, Allison prepared an injection suitable for Kale's size. She approached the weakened dragon, who watched her with fading amber eyes. Trust her, Kale, Lyra whispered, stroking his head. You must trust her as I do. The words struck Allison deeply. The galaxy's deadliest assassin trusted her. That realization was almost as shocking as everything else that had happened. The injection went smoothly. Kale barely reacted, too weak to protest. Then they waited. Lyra did not move. From the dragon's side, her hand constantly touching him as if lending him her strength. An hour passed. Kale's condition, neither improving nor worsening. Then slowly, almost imperceptibly, his scales began to brighten. The dull gray giving way to hints of blue and purple. His breathing is stronger. Lyra noted hope evident in her voice. Allison checked the readings on the scanner. The cure is working. The plague virus is breaking down. His immune system is adapting using the template from my antibodies. Kale stirred, raising his head. His eyes looked clearer, stronger. He made a chirping sound that somehow conveyed gratitude. You did it, Lyra said, looking at Allison with new respect. We did it, Allison corrected. But this is just the beginning. The cure must be adapted for mass production. And we still need to stop the Ascension Directive before they release the 6th strain. Lyra nodded her attention, returning to Kyle as he continued to improve. With the dragon recovering, she began accessing the station's information network using codes that bypassed normal security protocols. We need to find their headquarters, she explained as data streamed across the screen, where the final strain is being developed. That is where we must strike. The information they gathered painted a disturbing picture. The Ascension Directive was larger than Allison had imagined, with cells operating throughout known space. Their leadership remained hidden, but their goal was clear: a galaxy reshaped according to their vision of evolutionary perfection, with undesirable species eliminated. As they sorted through the data, Lyra suddenly stiffened. "Alert mode. Kyle," she commanded. The dragon immediately stood, his scales shifting to deep red. His head swiveled toward the door, seconds before an alarm began to sound. "We have been compromised," Lyra said, gathering their research materials. "They found us." The door to the laboratory exploded inward. Armed figures poured through the opening, weapons raised. Lyra moved with blinding speed, placing herself between the attackers and Allison. Her weapon appeared in her hand, firing with deadly precision. Allison grabbed the vial containing the remaining cure and the data crystals with their research. Kale launched himself at an attacker, his small size belying his ferocity. His claws slashed through protective armor, drawing blood. "Take the secondary exit," Lyra shouted to Allison while continuing to fire. Ceres Station loomed ahead, a massive structure built into the largest asteroid in the belt between Mars and Jupiter. Allison watched it grow larger in the viewscreen, her stomach tight with anxiety. The cure was ready, perfected during their journey from Helios Station. Using her unique antibodies, they had created a universal vaccine that could counteract all strains of the Void Plague. Now they just needed to upload the formula to the galactic network while destroying the source of the plague itself. "The challenge will be getting inside," Lyra said, studying the station schematics. "The directive controls Ceres but maintains the illusion of normal operations. Their security will be heavy, especially after our escape from Helios." Kale sat on the console, his wing now healed. His scales rippled with anticipation, shifting between deep blue and purple. Allison had come to understand that the dragon was far more intelligent than she initially realized. The bond between him and Lyra was not just emotional but mental. They communicated in ways she could not perceive. "We cannot dock openly," Lyra continued. "They will be watching for my ship." So we used deception. The plan was risky. A cargo vessel approached Ceres Station on a routine delivery mission. Lyra had arranged to intercept it. The captain, now unconscious in the Starborn Vengeance medical bay, would not remember providing his access codes. "Prepare the containment unit," Lyra instructed. "This is where you will hide Kale." Allison examined the specialized pod. It would mask Kale's unique energy signature, preventing security scans from detecting him. The dragon would be uncomfortable, but safe. "I still don't understand why we need to bring him," she said. "The mission is dangerous enough." Lyra met her gaze with unusual intensity. "He can sense the plague. He will lead us to its source, and he has abilities you have not yet seen." The Starborn Vengeance maneuvered behind a cluster of smaller asteroids, concealing itself while Lyra and Allison transferred to the cargo vessel. Using the captain's codes, they approached Ceres Station under legitimate cover. Allison wore a disguise, her hair now dark, her features subtly altered by cosmetic implants. Lyra was more dramatically changed, her silver hair hidden, her distinctive elven features masked by specialized technology. She appeared human, though still beautiful in an understated way. Kale, secured in the containment unit, looked like nothing more than scientific equipment Allison carried, the vial with the cure hidden in a modified scanner, while Lyra transported the containment unit. Both wore the uniforms of routine cargo inspectors. Their credentials were accepted without question. The cargo ship docked, and they disembarked, joining the flow of workers moving through the station. Allison marveled at Lyra's ability to blend in. The deadly assassin now looked entirely unremarkable. Just another technician going about her duties. "We have 4 hours," Lyra said quietly as they moved toward the inner rings of the station. "The cargo ship departs. Then our presence will be noticed soon after." They took a service elevator to the research levels, Lyra using stolen access codes to bypass security. They encountered few others. Most of the staff focused on their own tasks. The station was enormous, housing over 50,000 people, most unaware of the true purpose of the secure laboratories at its core. The deeper they went, the more security increased. Guards stood at checkpoints, their weapons visible. The casual atmosphere of the outer rings replaced by tense vigilance. Lyra approached one checkpoint with confidence. The guard examined their credentials, his eyes lingering a moment too long on Allison. "New personnel," he asked, his hand resting near his weapon. "Transferred from Proxima," Lyra replied smoothly. "Specialist equipment for Laboratory 7. The guard checked his console, nodding. "Finally. Proceed, but stay on the marked path. Restricted areas are under heightened alert." They passed through, moving deeper into the station. Allison could feel her heart pounding. Would they be discovered? Would the disguises hold? "We are close," Lyra whispered. "The central laboratory should be 2 levels down. We need to access the main server room to upload the cure formula. Then find the plague source and destroy its security door blocked their path. This one requiring biometric confirmation." Lyra produced a small device, pressing it against the scanner. The door remained closed. "Something is wrong," Lyra said, her voice tense. "They changed the protocols." Footsteps approached from behind them, guards, their weapons drawn. "Stop, identify yourselves," one ordered. Lyra's reaction was immediate and violent. The calm technician vanished, replaced by the deadly assassin. Her weapon appeared in her hand, firing with precision. The guards fell before they could raise the alarm. "Move," Lyra commanded, all pretense gone. "They know we are here." Alarms blared throughout the section, red lights flashing. "Emergency." Bulkheads began to close. Lyra forced one open, allowing them to slip through before it sealed. She used her weapon to destroy the control panel, ensuring no one could follow the same way. They raced through corridors, no longer trying to blend in. Lyra eliminating any resistance they encountered. The elven woman moved with lethal grace, her disguise shed revealing her true features, her silver hair streaming behind her, her violet eyes cold with purpose. The containment unit slowed them down. Lyra carrying it despite its weight. Allison followed, clutching the precious vial with the cure. They reached a maintenance shaft, dropping down 2 levels, bypassing the sealed security doors. "We are here," Lyra said as they emerged in a quiet corridor. "The central laboratory." She pointed to massive doors at the end of the hall. "Inside is the server room and likely the plague source. How do we get in?" Allison asked, eyeing the heavy security. The doors looked impenetrable. Lyra set down the containment unit. Releasing the locks, Kale emerged, stretching his wings. The dragon seemed larger, somehow more formidable than Allison remembered. His scales glowed with internal light. "Stand back," Lyra warned. Kale approached the doors, his body beginning to pulse with energy. Allison watched in amazement as the small dragon grew brighter, his form seeming to expand not physically but in some other dimension. The air around him distorted. "What is he doing?" Allison whispered, revealing his true nature. Lyra answered her, voice filled with rare emotion. Kale pressed against the doors, his body now radiating so much light that Allison had to shield her eyes. A high-pitched sound filled the air, painful to human ears. The massive security doors shuddered. Then the electronic locks failed. The doors slid open. The dragon staggered back, clearly exhausted by the effort. Lyra caught him, cradling him gently. "That was well done, my friend," she said softly. "But save your strength. We will need it again." Beyond the doors lay the heart of the directives operation. A vast laboratory filled with equipment dedicated to one purpose, the refinement and production of the void plague. Massive containment cylinders lined the walls, each glowing with sickly green light. The plague in its various forms. At the center stood the server core, a towering structure connecting to the galactic network. This was their target. Upload the cure formula here, and it would spread throughout known space, available to all worlds. The laboratory appeared empty, but Allison sensed a trap. The absence of guards or scientists was too convenient. "It's too quiet." Lyra agreed, her weapon ready. "Keep Kale close. The cure is what matters." They moved toward the server core, Allison preparing the data crystal containing the cure formula, Lyra scanning for threats, Kale recovering his strength. his scales slowly regaining their brilliance. Allison reached the main console. The interface accepted her commands, allowing access to the core systems. She began the upload process, watching anxiously as the formula transferred to the network. Once complete, it would be impossible for the directive to contain. Every world would have the information needed to produce the cure. The upload reached 50% when the trap was sprung. Hidden panels slid open around the laboratory. Armed figures emerged, their weapons trained on Lyra and Allison. A cold voice echoed through the chamber, the famous Lyra Nightshade. At last, a tall figure stepped forward clearly, elven like Lyra, but male. His features held the same ethereal beauty but twisted with cruelty. His eyes were not violet but pale blue, almost white. Lord Commander Lyra said, her voice flat with hatred. Allison continued the upload process while the two elves faced each other. The Lord Commander circled, keeping his distance from Lyra, whose reputation clearly concerned him. "You have interfered with our work for the last time, Nightshade," he said. "The 6th strain is ready for deployment. Your efforts are meaningless." The upload reached 70%. Allison worked frantically, trying to complete the process before the armed guards could stop her. "You destroyed our world," Lyra accused the Lord Commander. "For what? Your vision of evolutionary purity?" "We cleansed a dying race," the commander replied with a dismissive gesture. "Our people were stagnant, refusing to evolve, clinging to outdated values. The few worthy ones like myself embraced change. We joined the directive. We saw the future. 90%, Allison thought, willing the system to work faster. "Just a few more seconds, you murdered billions," Lyra said. Her weapon remained ready, though she was outnumbered. 20-1, evolution requires sacrifice. The commander shrugged. "Some species must end for others to flourish. The humans are next. Their genetic diversity is chaotic, undirected. They waste potential, complete." Allison whispered as the console flashed confirmation. The cure formula had been uploaded, the knowledge now spreading throughout the galaxy. The commander noticed her triumphant expression. "What have you done?" he demanded. "Given everyone a choice," Allison answered. "The cure formula is now public knowledge. Every world can produce it. Your plague." The journey to Earth passed in silence. Lyra remained withdrawn, her usual cold composure replaced by genuine grief. Allison managed the small evacuation vessel, focusing on the practical matters of navigation and communication. She sent encrypted messages to trusted scientific contacts, warning them about the remaining directive cells, explaining how to produce the cures. Earth grew larger and the viewport blue and beautiful against the darkness of space. Allison wondered what awaited them. The directive had been wounded but not destroyed. Their network extended throughout known space cells, operating on countless worlds. Their defeat at Ceres Station would not end their threat. "We should contact the authorities," Allison suggested as they approached Earth's orbital control. "We have evidence of the directive's activities. They need to know." Lyra finally stirred from her grief. "They will arrest me," she said simply. "I am still the galaxy's most wanted criminal. They cannot ignore what the directive has done." Allison argued, "We saved billions of lives." The elven woman looked at her with tired eyes. "Governments will use the plague research for their own purposes. They always do. Power corrupts, regardless of species." Before Allison could respond, an alarm sounded from the control panel. 3 ships approaching, fast orbital patrol vessels. Their weapons active. "They found us," Lyra said, sitting up straighter. Her hand moved to her weapon, though she must have known it would be useless against military vessels. A voice crackled through the communication system. "Unidentified vessel. You have entered restricted space. Identify yourself and prepare to be boarded." Allison hesitated. If they were boarded, Lyra would be recognized, captured, or killed. The galaxy would never know the truth about her role in stopping the plague. "Make your choice, human," Lyra said quietly. "Accept your reward as the hero who helped stop the plague, or remain an outlaw with me. The choice is simpler than you think." Allison looked at the elven woman who had forced her into this adventure, who had shown her the truth about the galaxy, who had lost everything fighting to save civilizations that would never thank her. The choice was indeed simple. She altered their course away from the patrol vessel's maximum acceleration. She told the ship's computer evasive maneuvers. Lyra raised an eyebrow, surprise briefly replacing her grief. "You choose to run. I choose the truth," Allison replied. "And the truth is with you." The small ship accelerated, changing course to avoid the patrol vessels they pursued. But the evacuation craft had surprising speed and maneuverability. Soon they had left Earth behind, heading toward the outer system. "Where can we go?" Allison asked. "The entire system will be looking." For us, a slight smile touched Lyra's lips, the first Allison had seen since Kale's death. "There are places beyond their reach," she said. "Places where we can recover. Plan our next move." A sudden alert from the sensors interrupted them. Something approaching, from behind, moving faster than any pursuit vessel should be capable of. "Another directive ship?" Allison asked, alarmed. Lyra checked the readings. "No, this is something else." The object closed rapidly, appearing on their view screen, a streak of light pulsing, with familiar energy, the color constantly shifting between blue and purple and gold. "It can't be," Lyra whispered, her voice filled with disbelief. The energy surrounded their ship, passing through the hull as if it were not there. It coalesced in the center of the cabin, taking form, becoming solid. Kale. The dragon stood before them, larger than before, his scales radiant with inner light, his amber eyes bright with intelligence, and something more. A new awareness. "How?" Lyra asked, reaching toward him. With trembling hands, "You were destroyed." Kale chirped his familiar sound, but now it seemed to carry meaning that Allison could almost understand. He moved to Lyra, pressing against her hands. His scales warm with life. "He evolved," Allison said suddenly, understanding. The energy burst the explosion. "He didn't die. He transformed." Lyra stroked the dragon's head, tears falling freely now. Her composure completely abandoned. "You clever creature," she said, her voice thick with emotion. "You let me believe." Kyle made another sound, almost like laughter. His wings spread wider than before, his body still small but somehow containing energies that Allison could sense rather than see. The patrol ship still pursued, though they had fallen behind. The small evacuation vessel would eventually be caught. Kale moved to the center of the cabin, his body beginning to glow again. But this time the energy was controlled, focused. He looked at Lyra, then at Allison. "He wants something," Allison said. Lyra nodded. "I understand." She moved to the control panel, shutting down the ship systems. "All of them." "What are you doing?" Allison asked, alarmed. "Trusting him," Lyra answered. The ship went dark, drifting powerless. Then Kale's energy expanded, filling the cabin surrounding them. The hull itself began to glow, with a sensation that defied description. The entire vessel shifted, reality itself seeming to fold around them. When the disorientation passed, Allison looked out the viewport stars, but in unfamiliar patterns, no sign of Earth or the patrol vessels. "Where are we?" she asked. Lyra checked the navigation system, which had reactivated 20 light-years from Earth. She said with amazement, "He moved us through space." Folded reality. Kale seemed pleased with himself, though clearly exhausted by the effort. He curled up in Lyra's lap, his scales dimming as he rested. "A faster-than-light jump without engines," Allison said in scientific wonder. The theoretical potential of his species. The dragon watched her with those intelligent eyes, as if amused by her attempt to analyze what he had done. "What now?" Allison asked as their ship drifted in the emptiness of an unknown star system. "We continue," Lyra said, her strength returning, her purpose renewed. "The directive still exists. Their cells operate throughout the galaxy. The plague has been stopped, but they have other weapons, other plans. Kale has given us a gift. Time and freedom." Allison looked at her hands. The hands of a scientist now turned to something else. A fighter. A fugitive. A defender of worlds. The life she had known was gone, replaced by something both more dangerous and more meaningful. "I need to contact someone first," she said. My friend Carrie at the Proxima outpost. She can distribute the cure formula to independent colonies, make sure everyone has access to it. Lyra nodded. We will find a way. The ship has communication capabilities that can mask our location as they drifted through the unknown system, making plans and considering options. Allison watched Lyra with the dragon. The cold assassin gently stroking Kale's scales, murmuring words in her ancient language. The galaxy's deadliest woman revealed as something more complex. A protector, a survivor. Someone who had lost everything but continued to fight. Days passed as they repaired the ship and plotted their course. Kyle grew stronger, his new abilities manifesting in surprising ways. He could create small jumps through space, moving objects with his energy field, detecting distant threats. The dragon had evolved beyond what either of them understood. We need supplies, Lyra said as they finished repairs. There is a free trading post in this system, independent from Earth governance. We can resupply there. Find information about remaining directive activities. Allison had been studying the star charts. This system isn't on standard maps. Lyra smiled. There are many things not on standard maps, places known only to those who need to stay hidden. The trading post orbited a small moon, a collection of habitats and docking ports, the kind of place where questions were not asked and identities not verified. They docked, paying with untraceable credits from the ship's emergency reserves. Inside the trading post, a bustling marketplace filled with species from across the galaxy. Allison had never seen such diversity. Scientists rarely ventured to these frontier regions. Lyra moved with confidence, negotiating for supplies, while Kale remained hidden in a specialized container. His energy signature would attract too much attention. While gathering medical supplies, Allison overheard traders discussing rumors directive cells in disarray, their leadership destroyed, their plague cure spreading throughout civilized space. But also warnings the organization was regrouping, new leaders emerging, new threats being developed. When they returned to their ship, Allison shared what she had learned. They think the directive is finished, but it's just wounded. Like a serpent, it will grow. A new head. Lyra nodded, loading. The supplies I expected, nothing less. Evil does not die easily. It adapts, it hides, it waits for opportunity. What about you? Allison asked, as they prepared to depart. Your reputation. The bounty on your head. The elven woman paused, considering. Lyra Nightshade is known as the galaxy's deadliest assassin, a title that served its purpose. But perhaps it is time for a new reputation. The galaxy's deadliest woman now turned toward a different purpose. Kale emerged from his container, stretching his wings, his scales bright with approval. You could return to your life. Lyra continued, looking at Allison. The authorities believe you were kidnapped, forced to help me. Your name has been cleared. The cure you helped create has made you a hero. You could go back. Claim your recognition. Your safe existence. Allison thought of her small laboratory on Proxima Moon, her plants, her books, the comfortable, predictable life she had lived. It seemed distant now, like a story about someone else. The galaxy is larger than I knew, she said finally. More dangerous. More complex. The directive is still out there. Other threats too. I can't go back to collecting rock samples. Not now. Not knowing what I know. Lyra studied her with those violet eyes. The scientist becomes a warrior. Observed, not a warrior. Allison corrected. A defender. A seeker of truth. The same thing I always was, just on a larger scale. As they left the trading post, returning to open space, Lyra shared her